The resistance of Ukraine in the occupied territories continues. And the invading Russia is trying to gain new positions in the east of Ukraine, but this is costing them dearly. Russia, which loses hundreds of soldiers every day due to the invasion, is also subject to significant economic sanctions. The invading Russian army, which, according to experts, inflicts huge losses every day, can begin peace talks with Ukraine in the second half of the year. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky seems determined to fight on until the Russians get out of his occupied territory. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who announced that they will defend their homeland and fight for it at every opportunity, also receives appreciation from the people and the world for his courage. Weapons from the West and members of the Ukrainian army, who have again begun to receive military training in the West, are giving the Russians a hard time in the occupied territories. Russia, which has set its main goal as the east of Ukraine, has targeted many cities located in this region and recently occupied Lysychansk. As the fighting between the Ukrainian and Russian armies intensifies in the Donbas region, there are reports that the Russians are having difficulty establishing dominance in the deck they have occupied. The Ukrainian army, which is on the offensive against the Russians, explains that it has recaptured many regions from the Russians. Finally, the Ukrainian army, which announced that it had liberated dozens of regions from occupation in the Kherson region, launched a significant offensive against the Russians. According to a Newsweek report, on the night of August 2 to August 3, Ukrainian troops targeted some Russian-owned military points. Military points and armories belonging to the Russians were successfully hit in the attacks using HIMARS missile systems, which Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky equated with the word justice, were successfully shot down. The Ukrainian news website Obozrivatelь reports that a Russian base has been hit in Chornobayvka, located on the outskirts of occupied Kherson. This news was also confirmed by a statement from the official Southern Operations Command Facebook page of the Ukrainian Army. Images of the attack in question appeared on social media. The images posted on Telegram, which soon became viral, showed a series of explosions after the missile attacks. According to Obozrivatelь, the target was successfully destroyed and the fire at the plant could not be controlled for a long time as a result of the explosion of stored ammunition. On the other hand, there are still good developments for Ukraine regarding the grain crisis that concerns Ukraine. Grain exports, one of the most important sources of livelihood of Ukraine, stopped due to the invasion of Russia, and grain was waiting in the warehouses of ports on the Black Sea coast. However, at a meeting organized by Ukraine and Turkey in Istanbul and attended by Russia and the United Nations, a grain corridor agreement was signed for the export of grain belonging to Ukraine. The fact that Russia struck grain-laden warehouses in Odessa hours after the agreement did not affect the process, and the first grain-laden ship sailed from the port of Odessa a few days ago. Both Ukrainian citizens and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed the process positively and thanked Turkey. An Egyptian cargo ship named Razoni had arrived in Istanbul to pass through the straits in the morning. In Istanbul, for the safe dispatch of cereal products from the ports of Ukraine created in the campus of the National Defense University Joint Coordination Center in Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, and upon completion of the audit of the United Nations representatives to ship moored in the Strait of Istanbul, Lebanon moved. The Sierra Leone-flagged vessel Razoni, carrying 27,000 tons of corn, which departed from the port of Odessa for the Lebanese port of Tripoli, was inspected by a joint inspection team at the Black Sea entrance to the Bosphorus. A statement on the social media account of the Turkish Ministry of National Defense said, "The joint inspection team has completed its inspection activity on board the Razoni." The ship carrying 27,000 tons of corn will soon pass through the Bosphorus Strait to go to Lebanon. It was called. In the exchange, images related to the joint inspection team's inspection activity on board were also included. The ship is scheduled to arrive in Lebanon via the Marmara Sea, the Dardanelles, the Aegean Sea, and the Mediterranean route. The invading Russia is experiencing difficulties in achieving its goals in Ukraine. The most important reason for this is the growing weapons power of Ukraine. Russia is uncomfortable with the weapons aid that the West is doing, and they express it in the highest language. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had earlier made statements saying that they were uncomfortable about this. Now an analog of those statements came from Igor Konashenkov, a spokesman for the Ministry of Defense of Russia. Konashenkov, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's intelligence directorate, deputy chief of the Guardian Skibitsky, HIMARS rocket artillery systems of targets before the attack, the intelligence which has been consultation between representatives of Ukraine and the United States, referring to his statement in the direction of all this, unlike the description of the White House and Pentagon, Vasingtini's not directly involved in the conflicts in Ukraine proves that, said. Experts say that Konashenkov's statement proves that Russia is being forced out of the HIMARS missile systems sent by the United States. Support for Ukraine also continues. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Estonian Foreign Minister Urmas Reinsalu. Estonia supports our sovereignty and territorial integrity with real steps, not words, Zelensky said in a statement about the visit. I am grateful to Estonian Foreign Minister Urmas Reinsalu for this visit, during which we started the reconstruction of the most important infrastructure. Our agenda is schools and kindergartens. Yesterday, the construction of a kindergarten was started in the border town of Ovruch in the Zhytomyr region. Full reconstruction will take a lot of time and money, but the start has already taken place, said. The European Union is also continuing its assistance to support the Ukrainian economy. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Union Commission, made a statement on macro-financial assistance prepared to help the Ukrainian economy on her social media account. Ursula von der Leyen, who announced that they have provided €500 million in financial assistance to Ukraine, said that they will send another €500 million, and the total amount of assistance will be €1 billion. This €1 billion will help Ukraine meet its urgent financial needs and strengthen the country, said von der Leyen, President of the European Union Commission, said. In June, the President of the European Union Commission von der Leyen announced that they would provide Ukraine with new support. Against this background, they are preparing to provide Ukraine with up to €9 billion in new macro-financial assistance in 2022. Dujarric also said that there are about 27 ships loaded with grain waiting in 3 different ports of Ukraine. After the first ship, they expect that the crossings will continue. The Ukrainian state has extended the contract terms of contract soldiers fighting against the invading Russians. The President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky signed the resolution on amending the regulation on military service of foreigners and stateless persons in the armed forces of Ukraine.